You'll be ahead of 99% of IELTS speaking students if you get a band 9. Not only that, you'll find it easier to get a job and make a lot more money. One thing all those band 9 students have in common is none of them started at band 9. Everyone starts at 0. But what they also have in common is they use the system that I'm going to teach you today, a system so simple that anyone can learn it. First, let me tell you about how I used to be terrible at speaking. I lacked a lot of confidence when I was a kid, and that came across in my speaking. In school, I would either say nothing at all or just mumble inside my mouth. Luckily, I was able to get a scholarship to one of the best law schools in the country, and my confidence grew while I attended that university. So much so that when I graduated, I got a job in one of the best law firms in the entire country. People would pay me hundreds of dollars per hour to speak for them. But there was one little problem. My boss told me that many of them couldn't understand a word I was saying because of my thick Irish accent.
For a caravan.
What?
Caravan.
So I had a choice to make. Stay true to my Irish roots or start sounding more British. And I made a mistake which I see thousands of our students make every year, which leads to them failing to get the IELTS speaking score that they truly deserve. Like them, that failure turned my life completely upside down, and I actually lost my job as a lawyer. Not for that specific reason, but we'll get onto that later. But there's an easy way to fix all of these problems. Let me show you how down here. So band 9 students, their speech just flows naturally like water and it fills this bucket up. So to get a band 9, we need to reach this band 9 level. And back when I was a lawyer, I had one blockage in my pipe. So not enough water could actually get through here. But to make things even worse, I had a huge hole in my bucket. And these holes are actually the biggest problem, because no matter what we do, the water is just going to leak out and we will never reach that level. But before we consider the holes, we need to identify the blockages within the pipe, because if we don't identify the blockages, we don't understand why we are failing to get that higher score. So this is the official marking criteria. This is the same piece of paper that every examiner in the world uses to assess speaking tests. This tells us exactly what we need to do. I've actually created a free IELTS speaking course that breaks down each of these criteria in much more detail, plus much more in 3 great simple lessons. You can access it through the link in the description. Just go to the link there, click on it, and you can join for free. But for now, let's focus on each of the marking criteria. So the first place that you might have a blockage is here, your vocabulary. Think of vocabulary as kind of the building blocks of a sentence. Without building blocks, you can't build a house. Without vocabulary, you can't build a sentence. Listen to this band 9 student speak and think about the words she uses to build her sentences. Who is your best friend and why?
I don't know how to answer this question, because if I say any one person, the others are going to come after me. And also, I don't have just one best friend. I have maybe 3 or 4 very good friends who I look to for help, counseling, advice. And I treasure them. I really appreciate each and every one of them for different reasons.
So what did you notice? Did she use fancy, long, complex words? No, she didn't use any fancy words at all. Instead, she used appropriate words. So instead of saying something like this, I find myself in possession of not merely a singular paradigm of optimal companionship, but rather a carefully curated consortium of approximately 3 to 4 extraordinarily distinguished interpersonal relationships of the highest caliber. She just said, I don't have just one best friend, I have maybe 3 or 4 very good friends. The words one, have, and very good aren't fancy, they're not complicated, but they are topic specific, appropriate, and accurate. They did allow her to clearly convey exactly what she thought about that question. Vocabulary is actually the easiest of these blockages to fix because you can improve your vocabulary quite easily by listening to and reading things that you enjoy doing. You can actually have fun and improve your vocabulary without really trying. And I've put that technique into our vocabulary improvement plan for you. It's a simple PDF. All you have to do is just click the link in the description and we'll send that PDF right to you. So we fixed our vocabulary issue, but then further along the pipe, we realize that you have a grammar issue and the water stops flowing. Think of grammar as the rules of the language. You must learn to use the right rules at the right time. Listen to this Band 9 student speak and think about the grammar they use. How often do you use your mobile phone?
Oh, I use my mobile phone every day. The company basically runs off my mobile phone.
Let's look at this sentence. I use my mobile phone every day. The company basically runs off my mobile phone. In this first sentence, he's talking about a personal habit, something he does regularly. So he uses present simple. Why? Because that's the simple grammar we normally use to talk about personal habits. In the second sentence, he's talking about a fact, a factual situation. Again, we use present simple when we're doing this. So he picked the right rule and he used it correctly without any mistakes. It wouldn't be appropriate to say something like, having been known to have been utilizing my mobile telecommunications device on a daily basis, which has heretofore been established as a routine that would have been continuing to be maintained had there not been any unforeseen circumstances that might have prevented me from having done so. So in that sentence, the grammar is a lot more complex, but you wouldn't get any extra marks for making that sentence because it's completely inappropriate. In fact, students that attempt that type of complexity normally make mistakes, thus lowering their score not only for accuracy, but also for appropriacy. For most students, their grammar is already high enough to get one of the higher grades. They might be getting a lower score for grammar, but their key problem is not actually grammar. It's one of these holes in their bucket, and we'll talk about that in a second. So we've now fixed your grammar, but we realize you might have a fluency issue. Listen to these two students and think about which one of them would get a higher score for fluency.
What specifically did you dislike about school?
I went to a school that made academic performance very, very important. Everything revolved around, okay, do better, you got to do better, your grades, all of that stuff. Much to the neglect of maybe extracurriculars or sports. And I didn't particularly like that when I was in school. The focus on academics and not really on other stuff.
Has your routine changed since you were a child?
So growing up, I didn't really have a routine because when you're a child, you just do whatever. But growing up, I came to realize that it's important to have like a set routine on what to do and how to take care of yourself, how to maintain a better routine throughout the day. So yeah, my routine has drastically changed throughout my life.
So many of you think that Craig has better fluency, but why? Do you think that speaking quickly and confidently means better fluency? What does the official marking criteria say about that? It says speaks fluently with only rare repetition or self-correction. Any hesitation, those ums and ahs, is content related rather than to find words or grammar, and develops topics fully and appropriately. Many of you might have thought that she can't get a band 9 because she hesitated from time to time. She stopped to think or or ah. This is clearly not what the marking criteria says. The marking criteria differentiates between two different types of hesitation. So we have linguistic hesitation and we have content-related hesitation. Linguistic relates to grammar and vocabulary. So you're trying to think of the right words, the right rules to use. And you can improve your fluency by following the advice I've already given you about vocabulary and grammar in this lesson. Improving your grammar and vocabulary improves your fluency. But here's the most crucial thing to remember about fluency. The more you think, the worse your fluency will be. So how can we think less and speak more fluently at the same time. For linguistic issues, we must simplify our vocabulary. We must simplify our grammar. You don't get extra marks for complex grammar and complex vocabulary. You get extra marks for appropriate and accurate grammar and vocabulary. And that brings us to the second, a more important fluency issue, and that's content. Watch this student dealing with an unfamiliar topic.
I'm not too familiar with the topic of AI and its relation with education. However, in my knowledge, I do know that AI is developing more and more, and it might be able to replace some teachers' jobs or tasks, but it will not replace the trait of empathy.
So did you find the solution? Keep it simple. Talk about things that are easy to talk about, not difficult to talk about. It sounds really obvious and really simple, but not many students actually do that. There is nothing in the marking criteria about how good your ideas are. So why try and impress the examiner with complex ideas when they are not even thinking about them? That brings me on to the last potential block. Now, if you look at the comments section under any of our speaking videos, you'll see lots of comments like this. But does the marking criteria mention anything about accent? Well, it talks about accent interference, but not about specific accents. In other words, it doesn't matter which accent you have, but how clear that accent is when you are speaking in English. So when I was a lawyer, why didn't I just speak with the clear Irish accent I now have? Well, it's to do with these holes in your bucket that I talked about before. These holes are deeper, more important issues than anything that we've discussed today. And the good news is they can be fixed today if you want them to be. So when you download our vocabulary improvement plan, link in the description, some of you are going to follow that plan and improve your vocabulary. But the sad truth is, most of you won't. Is that because the plan doesn't work? No, thousands of our VIP students have used that exact plan to get a band 9. The problem is that many of you want to instantly download band 9 vocabulary into your brain and immediately start using it. I know Kung Fu. That is not how language learning works. So the hole in your bucket, your problem is not vocabulary, it is impatience. Now let's look at this second hole. If you look at the success story interviews from our VIP students, you can check them out on our website. They all say that when they simplified their grammar, they made fewer mistakes and got higher scores. Many of you won't accept that advice because a teacher you respect told you that complex grammar would get you a higher score, or maybe someone you love, like your family member, told you that. Your hole is not grammar, it is loyalty. Others won't pay for one-on-one feedback that you might need to identify your common grammar problems. Your problem is not grammar, your problem is you have the wrong goal. Your goal is not really to get a high IELTS score and move to the country of your dreams and have a better life. Your goal is to save money today, not have a better life tomorrow. Now let's look at this hole. Many of you have great fluency, but you insist on overthinking. You overthink by trying to give the examiners the most complex words and sentences. You try to impress the examiners by thinking of the most impressive ideas. Your problem is not fluency, it's your attitude to feedback. What you believe is true about the test and what is actually true are not the same thing in many cases. Some people change their behavior based on feedback. Some people don't. Guess which group gets the higher IELTS score? Now let's discuss the massive hole in my bucket. What was my big problem? So when I was told I had to improve my accent and my speech, I became really defensive. I saw it as an attack from a British person on my identity and my accent as an Irish person.
John Bullen's got his hand down your pants and his fist round your bollocks and you can't see it.
A few months later, the global financial crisis of 2008 hit. There were massive layoffs in every law firm in the country. Guess who was first out the door? The lawyer who was good at their job, but nobody could understand because of his thick Irish accent. So was that my problem? Well, what I didn't really understand was my boss wasn't attacking me. They were trying to help me. They weren't asking me to change from being Irish to being British or change my accent at all. They were asking me to speak clearly in my Irish accent, the one I'm speaking to you in right now. My key problem was I didn't understand the purpose of speaking. The true purpose of speaking is so that the listener can understand what you're trying to say. Put yourself in the listener's shoes. Are the strategies you're using helping them understand you or hindering them from understanding you? All of these issues are not speaking issues. They are mindset issues. They can be changed immediately. And that quick mindset shift could save you years of your life and millions of dollars of future earnings. Don't end up like me, having to make silly YouTube videos for the rest of your life instead of the career that you truly deserve. If you want more help with speaking, you should check out this video. Or if you just want to have some fun learning while improving your English, check out this video.